Hi, I'm Shaka Hislop, and you're here at Extra Time TV.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Extra Time TV. This is Andre Soklal, and today we're going to speak about the recent friendly that took place between Trinidad and Tobago and Mexico. We lost 2-0. I know a lot of people were complaining that they could not see the game, but today we're going to have someone who is very knowledgeable about the game of football in Trinidad and Tobago. He has a wealth of knowledge. It's Nigel Myers, who is the co-administrator of the popular Trinidad and Tobago football website and forum, SocaWarriors.net. How are you today, Nigel?
Good evening, Andre. It's a pleasure to be here finally.
Yes.
Making my debut.
Okay, yes, the debut, the long-awaited debut. He's like a football signing that has been rumored about but never took place yet. So it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight.
Yes, I'm coming like a free agent.
Of course, we're both fans of the game. That goes without saying. So, Trinidad and Tobago took on Mexico. We lost 2-0. I'm going to take a quick look at the stats. Mexico, as expected, with Martino, they usually dominate possession, 75% possession versus our 25. They had 29 shots, 10 on target, while we had 1, according to the stats. As we know, stats are, there's a lot of room for interpretation with stats, but very few people saw the game, which is something else we'll discuss. But what was your thoughts on this game?
Well, I must say that the scoreline itself, if you were only to look at that, it was pretty good because we have never gotten a point in Mexico at really any point in our history, and our recent results there have not been flattering. So to go there, even though we played there on the 23 team. And we had our B side, local players who was only been active in the Ascension League. It was a decent result as far as the scoreline. However, performance-wise, I think we fell way short of what I think we should have been able to do, even under those circumstances. I can't remember the last time I've seen us dominated, like that. From the get-go, you could see the entire side just, retreat, back to almost by our penalty area, just allowing Mexico to, run riot. And I have to say, we were lucky that those guys were sometimes over exuberant and ended up, scuffing chances. And also, we have to give credit to Marvin, our keeper, for keeping the scoreline decent.
Yep, you took the words straight out of my mouth, Marvin Phillip. With all things considered, had a very good game. Kept the scoreline very respectable. But one very disturbing factor that I noticed visually looking at the game is that our ability to simply hold on to possession for maybe string 2 or 3 passes together, which is something we have admittedly improved on a couple of years ago under Stephen Hart and so on. Even though we would lose games, you would still see a lot of positive signs. When you left the game, you'd be like, it was by fine margins. But in this game, we saw a lot of difficulty with the players just trying to string passes together. Do you think in the last couple of games we have been picking our strongest squads for these games?
I would have to say, definitely not. And I'm saying that, given regard to the fact that we haven't had local football for more than a year now, so we have a lot of inactive players. But I really don't know what system is used to scout players. I remember under Stephen Hart, he used to employ at least some technology in tracking players' statistics in games, wherever they play throughout the world. I don't know if that continues. I know Dennis Lawrence is someone who is fond of technology and all of that, but I don't know what really goes into selecting our squads. I know coaches pick their own selection and they live and die by it. And no fan supporter would always be happy with it. But I think that even when you're not happy with it, if you could see a pattern or a method to the selection, then you would say, well, okay, maybe I would pick A over B, but, let's go with the coach's choice and let's see what happens. But many times, me and other people are kind of left baffled as to the rationale behind certain choices. For example, I would, one name that comes to mind is Nathan Lewis, right? Now he's someone, he brings a lot to the team in terms of his movement, his enterprise. He's pretty quick, and sometimes he puts defenders on their heels. But he's someone that hasn't been playing, club football for quite a while. He's attached to Lansing Ignite in the USL Division 2, well, League 1 in the USA, and he hasn't been playing at club level. But other than the recent 2 matches against Martinique, he still gets selected. And I kind of wonder, isn't that the time to give somebody else, who is actually playing, week in, week out, or is in a setup where they're getting a higher level of training to give them, see what they can do. So that's, one example that I'm giving where I am left baffled by that. Another one too is, okay, we're going to Mexico. You pick Cyrus. Cyrus is probably our most experienced squad member apart from we're playing the Mexico. Cyrus is way over in India. What he brings to the table. There's nothing to learn from him. I understand maybe you might want him there for experience, but sometimes if you're going there to work on your defensive shape and so forth, I don't think it's necessary to bring someone like that, thousands of miles. And as reportedly he came off the plane late Tuesday night. I just don't see the point in it. If we're supposed to be rebuilding. So that those are some examples.
Just to build on what you're saying, because I've been having discussions with even with you, off air, Shaka Hislop and many other guys, and one thing we've noticed is that Trinidad and Tobago has we have many problems, but in particular in respect to the game, we generally tend to have a major drop off after the 60th minute, plus or minus a couple of minutes for some time now. It seems to be an issue that is recurring. Even at the last game against Martinique, I was there at the stadium, and my colleague and I were looking at each other, and everybody was really excited because we were winning 2-0, and I think we were 2-1 at the time, and I was the only one who looked a bit tense. I was like, let's see, this is the trouble period for us, and it seems that it hasn't been fixed. You brought up the issue of inactive players not being able to play right now. The Martinique coach in his post-match press conference said they had 2 professional players on the team.
Correct.
I'm not trying to nitpick, but do you think that this is a problem that, other countries are clearly finding a way to solve this problem? Why do you think that we're not solving this problem?
Because I think it's a cultural issue. People just expect, okay, maybe we have professional players playing overseas, but sometimes you could get lulled into the whole, lackadaisical attitude that you may find when you come together, with other players who may not be exposed to the level of training and professionalism that, let's say, maybe a foreign-based player is exposed to. But yes, individuals are responsible for themselves. When you see people like, I would say like Denzel Theobald, for example, he had, little stints here and there overseas, but he played the bulk of his career in Trinidad and Tobago. But I would describe him as a consummate professional, looked after himself and will always give his all. You can either like his style or not, or what have you, but you couldn't fault him for his attitude. I think in our game, when you look at the Pro League, and you see sometimes the types of goals that are scored when you look at the body language of the defenders, you rarely see teams going all out. You see, the shrug of the shoulders. You see the pointing of fingers. Oh, that was your man. No, it was yours. And we don't get that. We don't build that culture from young to go, the full 90 minutes, full concentration. Getting in there physically, getting the mental aspect down. So it's hard to just appear at senior level and have those qualities.
Yep, and just to reference an old story, a couple of years ago, I worked at Central FC for a little while, and one glaring thing I noticed is that Central FC had a very immaculate preseason program where simply on physical fitness alone, They were able to be an unknown entity, come into the professional league, and essentially dominate for 3 seasons. Not tactically, not anything else. The players, and this is not saying much, they were physically superior to all the teams. There were games that they were playing, and they were not. I know all players on the opposition team, and they were very good players, but they simply just ground out the results simply on fitness. And I'm guessing the individual players and maybe the Football Association will have to maybe step in and design some specialized programs for the national players, because I spoke to Emil Mohammed, and he's the founder of the Canbu Play Foundation, and guys who are not on the national team right now, but they've been around, Johanse Marshall, Sean De Silva, a couple others, the names elude me right now. But if it's one thing one thing I noticed about these guys is that when they were not playing, they kept themselves in immaculate shape and were able to secure transfers because of that. And I think you're right. I'm actually agreeing that, unless something is... The players have to take some responsibility as well. I mean, everybody's throwing stuff at Dennis. But I think now the middle ground, do you think, is that the Football Association and these players have to develop specialized programs just to get these guys at the level required? And stop using there's no football?
I think so. I mean, definitely that the TTFA, as well as our Pro League or whatever the next incarnation is, Ascension Football League. I mean, a certain level of fitness. I mean, it's a physical sport, so a level of physical fitness is desired, because no matter how skillful you are, talented, when your fitness starts to go, you become kind of useless. Right. So, and we've always had that problem. It's nothing new, right? It's always been there. I mean, when Ben Hacker came, he noticed it. We had issues where we used to start games very slowly. By the time we got going, we already lost the game.
Correct.
Too late. So I mean, I can't remember the last time we could consider ourselves a 90-minute team. We do it sometimes, but we're not known for it, because and many times the opposition, let's say like the USA, for example, or even Mexico, they know that. So even when we might be putting up a good showing, I think in their minds they know it's only a matter of time before the concentration starts to wane and you start to open up, and then you're ripe for the picking.
Yep, correct. I mean, if we could observe that, I'm pretty sure the analytics teams will spot that miles away. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out more, look at this video. And don't forget to click the subscribe button, because when you do, one of your enemies will be destroyed.